he ultimately chose Haruka and me over his own career. The closer we got to the truth, the more people stood in our way, hindering our investigation. A direct Tojo clan patriarch after the 10 billion, Futoshi Shimano. As well as the man who was acting captain of the Shimano family, Goro Majima. Every fight against these hardened Yakuza veterans was even more fierce than the last. Even Sohei Dojima's widow, Yayoi, confronted me over the loss of her husband after his murder. And the words you spoke to me that day weighed heavy on my heart. But through it all, some were steadfast in their support. Kazuki, the owner of Stardust, the host club. Yuya, a host who works there. Terada from the Omi Alliance. The people Kazuma-san led me to gave me the courage to press on. But there was one man in particular who would end up bringing Haruka and me closer to the truth.
Kiryu Kazuma.
They called him the Florist of Sai. A legendary information dealer who worked in Kamurocho's underground. His intelligence revealed that there was a mastermind controlling everything from the shadows.
花屋によるとこいつは政府の地下組織のものじゃないかってことでな。その線で調べてたら出てきたんだ。内閣府の地下組織 MIA ってのがな。
The Tojo clan's missing 10 billion turned out to be the work of a single politician. His name was Kyohei Jingu. He had embezzled the missing 10 billion yen through the Tojo clan's reserves. And he would go on to use it as a source of income for years on end. To prevent Kyohei Jingu from gaining too much influence in the Tojo clan, the 10 billion yen was stolen yet again. And the people behind it?
Kazuma, 金を盗んだのはユミと俺とセラなんだ。
We had finally uncovered the truth behind the money. However... Kazuma-san risked his own life to protect Haruka from Shimano. As he lay dying, he revealed the final piece of the puzzle.
許してくれ、カズマ。お前の親殺したのは俺なんだ。いいんだ。いいんだ、おやさん。俺にとっちおやさんが本当の親父でした。
He confessed his long-held secret regarding my past, and then took his last breath. After finally learning the truth, Haruka and I picked up the money's trail and made our way out to the Millennium Tower. There, we found Yumi waiting for us. It turned out, the mother Haruka had been searching for was Yumi all along. Though it was a joyful reunion, the happiness only lasted a moment before it all fell apart.
なんだ。
Kyohei Jingu had returned, determined to take back his 10 billion yen. He planned to cut ties with the Tojo clan, join hands with the Omi Alliance from Kansai, and ultimately unite Japan's political and criminal worlds under his control. He sprung a trap on one of Kazuma-san's allies, Terada, the Omi chief of HQ, then bared his fangs at us. However,
何ユミ。
もうこれであなたは私を撃てない。これが爆発すれば店の中にある100億も一緒に消えてなくなる。
because of Yumi's courage risking her own life, and the ideals Kazuma-san passed down to me,
俺は登場界4代目桐生一馬だ。
we were able to take down Jingu once and for all. But
Können wir das auch mit dem
right when
März
we
machen?
thought everything was finally over, who should walk in but him?
終わったか。これでようやく落ち着けるな、錦。
Over the course of a decade, the two of us had both changed. Fighting was the only answer we had left. So, we fought.
Oh. Hatte das? What the fuck?
In the end, I watched my best friend give up his own life to save me and Haruka. Kazuma-san, Yumi, and Nishikiyama. I'd lost my entire family,
Also jetzt passt's.
as well as my hope for
Und
the
Miau
future.
Strangy, schön, dass du da bist.
ふざけるな。お前の戦いはまだ終わってねえはずだ。かけがえのねえもの
Noch
を
hast du
守
nicht
り
viel
続ける。
verpasst. Wir gucken uns gerade quasi den Rückblick an von Yakuza
The
Kiwami
only way I
1.
managed to
Danach
escape
ist
that
der
despair
Rückblick von Kiwami
was
2
thanks to
dran.
Date-san and Haruka. As for the succession of the Tojo clan, I entrusted it to Terada to uphold Kazuma-san's ideals and said farewell to the Tojo clan.
Alter, gefühlt hauen die gerade
With my
das
past
komplette
behind me.
Spiel hier raus.
I started a new life with Haruka.
Ja, das war der Rückblick von Yakuza Kiwami. Und wenn ich mich recht entsinne, ist es sogar exakt das, was wir bei Yakuza Kiwami 2 gesehen haben. Weil da gab es ja auch so einen Rückblick. Jetzt kommt noch das Rückblick von Yakuza Kiwami 2, wo wir ja auch das Ende nicht streamen konnten. Heißt, wir sehen da halt eben auch sogar das Ende von Yakuza Kiwami 2. Wird auch nochmal sehr, sehr lang werden. Wie gesagt, also die ersten 2 Folgen, also die erste Folge habe ich jetzt schon Rückblick Teil 1 genannt und die zweite Folge Rückblick Teil 2. Mal gucken. Könnte mir gut vorstellen, dass Yakuza, also dass die dritte Folge auch Rückblick Teil 3 genannt wird. Gibt es noch etwas, das ich den Leuten hier sagen wollte? Ja. So, wir haben wie gesagt hier die Gräber gehabt. Wir haben jetzt auch sehr viel Cutscenes am Anfang gehabt. Terada. Als einer der 4 Omi-Könige hast du geholfen, die größte Yakuza-Gruppe in Kansai zu führen. Die Omi-Allianz. Ich finde es auch geil. Omi-Könige. Er ist der König vom Altenheim. Mhm. Und die hatten da im Altenheim eine Omi-Allianz. Eine der 4 Omi-Könige war halt eben auch AJ Styles Oma. Sie war die Omi-Königin des Bingo. Und da AJ Styles jetzt in Rente geschickt wurde von Gunther, hatte er auch sehr viel Zeit, mit seiner Oma Bingo zu spielen. Gott. Gott. Die Macht erlangten sie dadurch, dass sie die edelsten Pudding im Altenheim anbieten konnten. Sehr schön. Ja. Ich muss auch noch sehen, den Spruch, den Bingo-Abend mit AJ Styles Oma muss ich in meinen Roman eigentlich als Running, also irgendwie mit einbauen. Mit der Bingo-Mafia verschuldet und erpressten sie dann alle. Ach, so war das. Das war die alten Yakuza. Das war noch die alte Garde der Yakuza. Buchstäblich alte Garde. Deswegen auch die Omi-Allianz. Ah, herrlich. Ja, ich finde den Namen immer noch schön. Aber ja. Ja, aber das mit der AJ Styles Oma, das muss ich in mein Roman einbauen. Immerhin hat Cynthia ein... Ja gut, neuer Charakter. Die ist irgendwo zwischen Kapitel 70 und 80, glaube ich, zum ersten Mal aufgetaucht. Die macht jetzt den Booby Trap. Und hat so einen an Domina angehauchten Gimmick. Im Ring jedenfalls. Bei der Vorlesung, wenn es soweit ist, kann ich ja mal erzählen, was eigentlich geplant war. Der Roman verläuft echt nicht so, wie ich es geplant hatte. Jedenfalls nicht die Story mit Cynthia und Freya. Die läuft überhaupt nicht so wie geplant. Ja, so. Und obwohl du für unsere Rivalen gearbeitet hast, weil wir sind die OP-Allianz und nicht die Omi-Allianz, hast du Kasama-san viel Geld geschuldet. Zusammen habt ihr sogar versucht, die Grabenkämpfe im Tojo-Clan wegen der 10 Milliarden Yen zu beenden. Nachdem ich deine Güte und Großherzigkeit gesehen habe, bei dem Bingo-Abend, beschloss ich, den Tojo-Clan in deine Hände zu geben. So wurdest du der 5. Oyabun. Du hast dein Bestes für den Wiederaufbau getan, um den geschwächten Tojo-Clan vor der Omi-Allianz zu schützen. Hast du einen Rollatorstillstand mit ihrem Anführer Jin Goda vorgeschlagen. Aber es war alles Teil eines Plans, um sich für das Jingvion-Massaker von vor über 20 Jahren zu rächen. Im Sterben hast du mich gebeten, dir zu vertrauen. Und trotz allem tat ich das, weil ich wusste, wie ernst du deine Schuld bei Kasama-san nahmst. Ja.
December 2005. After the incident with the 10 billion yen, I started a new chapter of my life. Having left the Tojo clan, I spent my days with Haruka, in peace and quiet. We had our ups and downs, but we did our best to support each other. I couldn't take losing any more loved ones. Unfortunately, I couldn't give her the peaceful life we both wanted. Because when we visited the graves of our loved
So, und
ones,
jetzt mitten in der Cutscene möchtest du den Rückblick zu Yakuza Kiwami erleben. Das war genau da, die Szene.
After I stepped down, I appointed Terada as the Tojo clan's 5th chairman. To avoid a war with the largest Yakuza group in Western Japan, the Omi Alliance. Terada was considering a truce and sought out my advice. Though, he never got the chance to broker peace.
Wow. Das war die zweite Kugel.
Terada was shot. As he struggled to remain conscious, with his last breath, he asked me to carry out the truce with the Omi Alliance in his place. The Tojo clan had grown weak, but Terada had been a beacon of hope. His loss could prove fatal for the organization. I was left with no choice but to return to Kamurocho. And to protect the Tojo clan, there was someone I had to meet with. He was a young man, and an active member of my former organization, the Dojima family, as well as the only son of its patriarch, Sohei Dojima. His name was Daigo Dojima.
登場会に戻ってくれ。お前が必要だ。
If negotiations with the Omi went sideways, I knew for a fact that I'd be a dead man. So I thought, if anything were to happen to me, the only one I'd trust to run the Tojo clan would be none other than Daigo.
1年前組をめちゃくちゃにしたのはあんただろうが。そうだ。だから俺はその責任を取りに来た。
But
登場会を頼む。ダメだ。俺も行く。何？俺はな、関西に借りがあるんだよ。大悟。何を言おうが無駄だ。たとえあんたが行かなくても、俺は行くぜ。
And with that, Daigo and I left for Osaka to negotiate a truce between the Tojo clan and the Omi.
Ach ja.
Sotenbori, Osaka. We were set to meet with the Omi Alliance chairman, Jin Goda. Then, in Osaka's red light district, by a twist of fate, I encountered him.
おい、女子の数が少ないやないけ。支配人はどこにおるんや。
ちょっと目合わせたらあかん。この辺で有名な薬剤師なんやって。
A man named Ryuji Goda, second chairman of the Goryu clan, a branch of the Omi Alliance, also known as the Dragon of Kansai.
極道の世界で竜と呼ばれる男は一匹でええんですわ。あんたもそう思いますやろ。まあな、これも何かの縁や。ついでにもっとええ話教えさせてもらいますわ。今夜の12時ちょうど、カムロ町に派手な花火がドカンと一発打ち上がるんですわ。花火。
Buchstäblich mit Feuer.
Just as Ryuji said, that night, the Kazuma family office in Kamurocho had been bombed.
これが花火。
By then, it was clear. Ryuji Goda wanted war. But his father was different. Jin Goda approved of the truce between Tojo and Omi. But in doing so, he painted a target on his back.
龍二、近江と東条が五分の杯やと。8に91の間違いとちゃうんか。
お前何しに来た。お前は執行部の人間やない。
やれ。
何をする。
お前の狙いはやはり戦争なのか。そうや、西と東の大戦争。
Ja, wir treffen uns in Sekigahara. Wenn wir Osten auf Westen treffen sollen.
Ryuji Goda was after two things. First, to control all of Japan through the Goryu clan. And second, to fight and ultimately defeat me. the Dragon of Dojima. He was relentless on his warpath against the Tojo clan, and went as far as to mutiny and kidnap his own father to stop the truce. Daigo and I worked together to rescue Chairman Goda, and to take down Ryuji. On the way there, I
Naja,
encountered
Daigo war nicht
an
gerade eine große
unexpected
Hilfe.
roadblock.
Hindernis. Mhm. Aber ein sehr erfreuliches Hindernis. Auf ein niedliches Hindernis.
And that was how I met Kaoru Sayama, the Yakuza huntress.
Ach ja.
The Omi Alliance's internal conflict in Osaka. The bombing in Kamurocho. Though two seemingly separate and distinct events, one detective was determined to uncover the missing link.
あれからもう20年以上経つのか。
They called him Killer Kawara for leaning on his gun during investigations. A dangerous man. And age had only made his wits sharper. He and his former partner, Date-san, were tasked with investigating an underground organization.
Wow.
And their target was none other than the owner of the Stardust Host Club, Kazuki. At the time, I was still in Osaka. My hands forced, I cooperated with Sayama in her investigation. She took advantage of her authority as a police officer and kept me in custody while having me contact members of the Omi Alliance. She wanted information about the power struggle within the organization. But I soon found out. Sayama had an ulterior motive for approaching me.
Sie wollte mich flachlegen.
言うてるやんか。あんたの両親とヤクザは関係ないって。
だったら教えてよ。私の本当の親は誰なの？はあ、もうこの話はええわ。とにかく私はあの桐生一馬を追いかける。
なんでや？
あの男が東上界の人間だからよ。
東上界？
彼の身辺保護をすれば東上界に近づける。そうすれば過去に何があったか調べることができるわ。
Her true intentions were to get answers to the questions she had regarding her past. Who were her birth parents? And why did she have to lose them? Why were they killed? She suspected that the Tojo clan were somehow involved. And in order to seek out the truth, she used me.
Benutzte sie mich, während sie da in, ja,
お前の気持ち
Bademantel
わかんない
gezeigt wird. Sehr interessante Wortwahl.
俺にも隠された過去があった
隠された
Ach ja.
だが俺はそれを知ってしまったことで苦しかった知らない方が良かったとさえ思ったもしかしたら人間には知らなくてもいい過去があるんじゃないのか
それは自分の過去を知っている人間のセリフよ
そうかもしれないな
I knew how painful it is to lose your parents, and how hard it can be growing up an orphan. Maybe that was why I couldn't leave her well alone. I was drawn to her.
Kann ich
正
nachvollziehen.
直怖いわ過去を知るのって
Die war auch echt süß.
でもいいの それが私が選んだ道だから。
そうか。なら俺を利用すればいい。俺に張り付いて登場界を探れ。
もしあなたが関係してたら。
その時は迷わず俺に向かって引き金を引けばいい。あんたはその相手を許すつもりはないんだろう。
そうね。そうするわ。
So, there we were. A detective and a Yakuza. We came to an understanding and teamed up for the sake of our goals.
Der Abend, der war so schön.
We pressed forward, despite knowing that the road ahead would only lead to tragedy.
Als wir für sie den Bären gewonnen haben und alles. Ah, das war ein sehr schöner.
My search for Jin Goda brought me from east to west. And in the process, Sayama's past began to unravel itself. Her investigation brought her closer to the truth, and brought to light her connection to an incident that occurred 20 years ago. And one that, as I found out, Kazuma-san and I were involved in. Meanwhile, in Kamurocho, an organization sought revenge for what transpired 20 years ago and set their plans in motion. The Jingwan Mafia, a foreign crime syndicate, forced out of Kamurocho by the Dojima family. Their remnants had become desperate and began to move, thirsty for blood. But for 20 long years, Kawara-san had been keeping an eye on them. And when he became aware of their plans, he passed on the details to me and Sayama. We headed to the Millennium Tower to confront the Jingwan Mafia. There, we discovered the ringleader, Kurahashi, an active police chief. And in pursuit of revenge, both Kurahashi and Kawara-san died by one another's hands.
Hören wir noch Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo? Which one is gonna to blow?
初めてだな。父親らしいことができたのは。懐かしいな。お前の手を握るのは。
お父さん。
ありがとう。
At last, Sayama learned the truth behind her past. As he lay dying, Kawara-san confessed that he was her biological father, before closing his eyes, finally at peace. Meanwhile, the Dragon of Kansai made his move, and threw down the gauntlet, declaring the site of what will be our final battle. So I put aside the tension between the Tojo clan and the Omi alliance to do what needed to be done. I headed to where Ryuji was waiting for me, so that we could finally settle things, man to man. But after our showdown, things took an unexpected turn. When he, of all people, walked in. Terada, a man I thought to have been dead. In that incident 20 years ago, Kazuma-san had shown mercy and spared the lives of some members of the Jingwan Mafia. Terada was one of them. Consumed by his need for revenge,